Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Tom Davis. I'm a research associate with Probe Ministries. Today, it's Christmas season. We just had Christmas Day a few days ago. Most Protestants and most non-Christians see Christmas season as kind of something that happens after Thanksgiving and it kind of finishes on December 25th. Traditionally, within the Christian church, um, you have a period of Advent, which goes from the first Sunday after Thanksgiving and goes to December 24th. And then December 25th starts Christmas season, and you have the 12 days of Christmas, and it ends with Epiphany on January 6th. So, last time I did kind of an Advent thing, went through a song, Advent. Today, I would like to go through a Christmas hymn with you and kind of discuss what this means. It kind of another hymn that cuts into the meaning of Christmas. So I'd like to share this with you, and this is Angels from the Realms of Glory. Um, so I'm going to come in and just go through these verses with you, kind of like I did last time. Talk about the verses, talk about the theology behind the song, talk about um, different things that are going on here, different things that we should be thinking about during this Christmas season as we celebrate the birth, the incarnation of Christ, the Son of God. So first we look at the first verse. You've probably heard this song before. Angels from the realms of glory, wing your flight o'er all the earth. So you have the angels from the realms of glory coming in, coming into our realm, coming in from heaven to see this thing that has happened. They wing their flight over all the earth. So they're flying around the earth. They're watching what is going on all around the earth. Ye who sing creation's story now proclaim Messiah's birth. So the angels, according to this song, first sing creation's story. Now they're proclaiming Messiah's birth. And you do see this in the Christmas stories where the heavenly host, which um, some people see the heavenly host as something different than angels, some type of spiritual beings different than angels. Other people see the heavenly host as being angels, just particular group of angels. But they appear to the shepherds, right? And they come to the shepherds and they proclaim the birth of the Messiah that's happened in Bethlehem. And they tell them they can go and see this thing that has happened. Um, so, they're waiting on this and they can go and see this. And it's kind of the climax point of one of the Chosen's Christmas specials. They have one called The Shepherd, which is focusing on one shepherd in particular, but as a group, the shepherds that would have been out there that night as a whole. And this is one of those things that's kind of disputed by certain skeptics. Um, so one of the things that skeptics will say concerning these concerning the angels, the heavenly host, is that it was in December. That's in winter. It would have been too cold for the shepherds to have the sheep out there, and so there's no way that this could have happened because the shepherds wouldn't have been out there anyway. But we know from the Talmud and Mishnah, different Jewish records, that in Bethlehem at least the shepherds were out year round because the sheep that they were playing, that they were raising, were to be used in the temple as a sacrifice. So they were, specially raised for the particular purpose of sacrifice. And if you've looked and watched the Chosen special, The Shepherds, they show this, that they come in and it starts off with shepherds coming in and they're giving one of the priests um, their lambs, and one of the shepherds gets all of them in trouble because the lamb he brings has a blemish. and the priest there being more concerned with the status of the sheep rather than answering someone's questions about Messiah, um, shames him for bringing some sheep that had a blemish on it instead of like really answering his question. Um, by the way, yeah, go and watch the Chosen special and the shepherds and the messengers, and then they have a holy night which combines both of them. It's great. And another um, kind of Christmas special that you can watch is actually called the Nativity. That was a movie made about 10 10 years ago, probably more than 10 years ago, probably about 15 years ago. Both of them are fairly good um, portrayals. Uh, and they're kind of trying to fill in some of the gaps in different ways. Um, but to carry on with this, we can see as we come in, they're proclaiming the Messiah's birth to the shepherds. In verse 2, it says, "Shepherds in the field abiding, watching o'er your flocks by night." So it is to the shepherds. They're watching over by night. Oh, which goes up to the other thing, reminds me of something I didn't say last time. Back to the discussion of would the shepherds have been out there? One thing to remember, those of you who live in the DFW area, um, the temperature, like the climate's much drier. Like I live kind of in DFW area. The climate's much drier, but the temperatures are similar to what you have in this kind of North Texas area. And so, like today it's in the 50s, going to get all the way up into the 60s, maybe even the 70s within the next couple of days. It's maybe a little warmer than normal, but it doesn't generally get that cold in December here. You might be looking at lows in the mid to low 30s, but it warms up fairly quickly, and the highs are usually in the 40s or 50s or 60s. So that's not really that cold for people who are used to having to warm themselves by a fireplace, not having um, insulated houses that keep heat in from modern heating. Um, but they would have, been more able to kind of withstand variations in weather than we are, just because they're more used to it. Um, but it comes in, they're watching over their flocks by night. It says, God with man is now residing. So God's now residing with man. God has come down to be with us, to be one of us, actually. Yonder shines an infant light. And so they're pointing to this one's kind of pointing to the stars. It talks about the great heavenly host appearing with a great light there at the shepherds. But when they're talking about the Magi are also guided by a star. Um, I happen to think that star is probably an angel, but not to get too far off. Um, they probably didn't get there the same night, although that's kind of the more common popular tradition. But in the Gospels, it sounds like they may have been there, a week or two apart. Um, and it says, yonder shines the infant light. So the infant that comes into one of these themes, particularly in John, but it's there in all the Gospels, of Jesus as the light of the world, the one that comes to help us see things as they are, to give us hope, to help us see in the darkness of the world. Um, Sages, leave your contemplations, brighter visions beam afar. This is referring to the wise men, I think. Um, and these wise men would have been magi. They would have been um, coming in probably from Persia. They were people that tended to study the stars at that time. So they would have known what the different constellations were. That's why some people think that there's a particular constellation alignment or something like that that they see. Um, but the brighter visions, Jesus is bringing a brighter vision into the world with him, giving us new hope. A hope that at this time the Jews had been waiting for 300 to 400 years, about 400 years, waiting for God to come and gather his people, waiting for God to come up and reveal himself and restore Israel. Is kind of what these people that were waiting for. And this is happening, but it's not happening in the way they expected. Um, it says, seek the great desire of nations. You have seen his natal star. Um, so they're seeking the nations. The nations claim for peace. One of the great hymns that we can sing here is "Peace on Earth, Goodwill Towards Men." This is kind of a reference to that same type of hope. Um, seek the desire of the nations desiring peace. You have seen his natal star, um, and that's what they talk about. They see a star that gets them moving. Um, they go to Jerusalem. The star moves over the house, and that's why I think that this star is an angel that probably was appearing to them as a bright light. But the reason I think it was an angel, because if you look up at any constellation and try to figure out which house it's over and then go to that house, that star is always going to move. It's not, first of all, you're going to have a hard time figuring out which house it is. If you do have a guess, once you get there, you're going to look up and be like, oh, it's not over this one like I thought it was. That's just kind of the nature, because the stars are so far away that they can look like they're shining. Uh, Sometimes might look like they're shining, but once you get there, you're going to see that it's like a moving target that you can never catch. Um, Saints before the altar bending, watching long in hope and fear. So the saints, these special people dedicated to God, this would be like Old Testament prophets, um, maybe some of the intertestamental heroes that you might read in the books of the Maccabees, First, Second Maccabees, um, maybe different people like that. Um, they're um, they're bowing at the altar, and they're waiting in hope, waiting for the Messiah to come and set them free of the yoke of, at this point, Rome. Earlier on it would have been Persia, before that Babylon. Waiting for their relationship with God and their position to be restored is what they would be thinking about. um, and with hope and fear. Right? When angels appear, um, sometimes we have this thing of angels being beautiful. We often use that term. Some here in America, some people use that term to refer to like a beautiful woman. Oh, she's an angel. Um, and there's nothing really wrong with that, but when you try to put that into like what they're talking about in the Bible, it's something completely different. If you look in the Bible, when an angel appeared, it freaked people out. It scared them. So coming face to face with an angel would be something terrifying to most people. And so they're coming with hope for the Messiah, but fear, because when the you even see this with the shepherds, when the heavenly host comes, it frightens them, and the angel has to explain what's going on so that they're no longer frightened. And suddenly the Lord descending in his temple shall appear. Um, the Lord descending, the Messiah is coming down to be one of us, and he kind of, in a sense, descends through the process of the virgin conception and later the birth of Jesus. Um, and so, you have this ascending down, being one of us, kind of becoming Emmanuel, becoming God with us for a time, and later on sending the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit kind of being God with us now. Um, and in his temple shall appear. So you do see Jesus, like, traditionally, and fulfilled the traditions. 8 days later, he is taken to the temple, and he's goes through the tradition of being dedicated, circumcised at the temple. And then it says, though an infant now we view him, he will share his father's throne. So now he's a little baby, an old baby. Um, share his father's throne. This is kind of a double entendre. It kind of has two meanings here. So this baby that was just born, that these shepherds are going to see the day he was born, and probably 2 weeks later, you have the Magi appearing to go and see this baby that was born. And now they're going to see this thing that it's appeared. It's here now. Um, and and he's going to share his father's throne. So, um, kind of in human terms, this would be the throne of David and the throne of the previous kings of Israel, there that held the throne there in Jerusalem. So he's going to share that throne. But ultimately, he's going to share the Father's throne, the Father of the first person Trinity, the triune God that has revealed himself as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He's going to share his throne now. And you can see this in Daniel, when you have the Ancient of Days that sits down, and this is a divine figure, the Father, and then you have the Son of Man who comes in and is seated at his right hand, and that Son of Man kind of being in that vision anywhere, kind of being in a light to the incarnation of Jesus, because that Son of Man is a divine and human figure in Daniel's vision. So, though an infant now we view him, he will share his father's throne, gather all the nations to him. This incarnation, this promise of a Messiah, was never meant for Israel alone. You see it right from in the Old Testament that Israel is supposed to be God's people, and they are supposed to be God's shining light to the nations around them. And the purpose of Israel, that Israel was supposed to do, was to bring the nations around them to God, but they failed over and over again. So now you have the Son of God, um, the incarnation of God in the man, Jesus Christ, coming, and he's going to gather the nations to him. You see this a little bit. It kind of starts with Jesus's life. There's a couple of episodes, the Samaritan woman at the well, and you have a Gentile where he winds up speaking with her and telling her that he's the Messiah that's come. Um, you have a Gentile woman that comes and asks, um, for him to heal her son. He ends up doing that, but it's kind of a weird. Won't get into the conversation between them here, but it's kind of a weird conversation. But it ends up her recognizing him as the Messiah, and you have several other hearings like that in the Gospels. The man with a legion of demons, and then Jesus tells him to go and be a witness to the Gentiles. And then after Jesus' death, the apostles are sent out to spread the gospel over all the earth. And it says, every knee shall bow down. Everyone, every knee will bow. Every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. So that's even in this time of Christmas, something to think about. Jesus is Lord. How should we live considering that Jesus is Lord? How should we engage with national politics? How should we engage with international politics? As Christians, our engagement in that should never be our particular desires. We should try to engage with that with the view of who Jesus is and who we are in light of who Jesus is as his servants, as his people. Um, so the knee down's bowed, and then you have the refrain that's in between each of these: come and worship, come and worship, worship Christ, the newborn King. Christ is worthy of all our worship. Um, and so that's what I have to say about this song. I hope that you have a rest of this Christmas season. You have a Merry Christmas. I hope you take time to think about this song. Think about some of the other Christmas songs. Um, may may this song bring you joy. If you're hearing this and you haven't, please write in the comments if you have something to say, something you would like me to ask, something, maybe a question or a video you would like me to do later. Also, as I said, I'm with Probe Ministries. You can go to Probe Ministries. You can read articles that I've written. We have had a podcast that's still up. We're not making new episodes, but it's still up. Head and Heart. You can look up the episodes I've done on Head and Heart. Um, Head and Heart with Probe Ministries. Particularly, there are several Head and Heart podcasts. So Head and Heart with Probe Ministries. Also, if you would like to support me, if you would like to partner with me in what I'm doing here and help keep me there at Probe Ministries with what I'm doing, you can go to the donate page and go in and click my name, fill out the form, and that help would be grateful. But that's only if you feel like this is something that you want to invest in, that you want to be part of. Um, so no pressure on that. It would help me out, but no pressure on that. And I hope you have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, that you would spend time with your family. Also spend time just reflecting about what this means, that God coming down as King to his people as one of them so that we can be reunited with the Father. So, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I hope the rest of your holidays is great. And until next time, serve your King.